think of a big screen TV 5 years ago or 10 years ago, costing like $2,000, $3,000. That same TV now is a floor model for $999. Whatever show price. It's the same with this stuff. There's only so many GNSS board manufacturers. There's only so many, hardware manufacturers that it really comes back to the software.
So yeah, it's nice to have Cody here. I was actually looking forward to speaking to you and doing this podcast because machine control systems are something that that are super expensive, but I think are super useful. So I think it's kind of fun to kind of go through a bit of that this topic and delve into it with somebody who knows more about it, right? So you're Cody's with Digital Train Solutions. So tell us a little bit more about what you guys do.
Yes. So, Cody Digital Train Solutions, geospatial solutions provider based in Vaughan, Ontario, and we specialize in GPS machine control. A lot of fancy words, a lot of complicated stuff, but essentially what we do is we take real-time data and analytics and put it at the operator's fingertips to increase quality, efficiency, and ultimately save money in the process.
Yeah, so I think everybody kind of knows what they are, and then also who the players are. I guess the big guys are, Topcon, Trimble, probably a few others. Let's start with the price on those things. Where do you think, what's an average cost on a let's say a 13-ton excavator?
The big three really, Topcon, Trimble, Leica, they're all within a couple $1,000s of each other. An excavator system is entry level at $60,000 to $80,000, depending on brand, fit up, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really been the big barrier to market for barrier to entry for guys has been the cost of these things. I mean, it's hard to justify putting close to $100K on a piece of equipment that you've already paid a couple $100K on. And how long does it take to get that real ROI?
Yeah, and I think they're really, really expensive, and I think that ROI is important. Let's say as somebody that buys a brand new machine, you're looking at a couple $100,000 there, and then adding this to it, as well as any type of like tilt rotating function. I always bring it up, but every excavator in Europe has machine control and it has tilt rotating coupler on it. What does it take for America and Canada to kind of get to that point too, that you see them so prevalently? Like, what's different in Europe? Why do they adopt it so much, and why has it been such a hindrance here?
Yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. I think it's strange that we still sell straight stick machines without some form of grade control. The tools are available. Like I said, the cost has obviously been the biggest factor. Yourself on the tilt rotor machine, to spend $100,000 on an attachment is a bit much,
Mm-hmm.
which is why people are looking at alternatives. And it's the same with the GPS machine control. To spend $70,000-$80,000 on an excavator system before you start getting into installation and base stations and all that other stuff. People are looking at other options, and that's kind of where Digital Train Solutions has got it's kind of a niche right now. Affordable, easy to use machine control products that aren't going to break the bank and really are not complicated at all to use, so we can implement it pretty easily.
So when did Digital Train Solutions come around, and how long have you been with them, and what are they doing differently in the space as opposed to the big names that we talked about?
Yeah, so Digital Train Solutions started actually in 2016, and my partner Michael started with another gentleman, and they were servicing Topcon, Trimble, and Leica customers, doing the data prep, the 3D models, and the files, the CAD work, and all that kind of stuff. They kind of put it on the back burner as they focused on their careers. Fast forward to 2021, I believe. Michael approached me and said, there's a huge hole in this market right now. The cost is ever increasing. We saw that during COVID times. Equipment's expensive. Guys are expensive. You need those efficiencies to try to compete. So we started looking for a system that we could work with something that we could develop. And we actually started with the excavator guidance systems.
Mm-hmm.
We felt like that was the biggest hole in the market. When people think GPS, they think dozer systems, they think handheld basin rovers, but nobody was really thinking excavators. They
Mm-hmm.
existed, they were around, but the old adage like, oh, I could dig it faster. I don't need the fancy lasers, the old school mentality. Um, and we just kind of dove in deep, doubled down, and got to a point where we have a solid product that's half to a third of the price of the big three. And,
Mm-hmm.
anybody off the street within a couple hours, they're digging like a pro.
Yeah, so I think that the reason why excavators don't we're kind of lagging behind is because it's not as mundane, right? Like when you're sitting in a dozer, it's kind of back and forth, up and down, and if
You
you
also
have
don't,
machine control, it makes it a lot easier.
yeah, you also don't need the precision, right? I mean, with those,
Hmm.
you're putting your granular A down. You need everything to be, perfect. When
Hmm.
you're digging footings and you're excavating. I mean, if you're up and down a little bit, there's a little bit of a tolerance for guys, unless they're doing some precision excavation, right? Uh,
Hmm.
and it's not so much for the grading, but I think for the location, having that horizontal alignment, knowing where your bucket is. If you put your bucket down and you're 6 inches off, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
When you're sitting up on top of a pile or digging in the hole, your eyes play tricks on you unless you have that pitman with you, checking grade. You're leaving it to chance almost, right? Where with machine control, you can dig confidently, put your bucket down, check your own grade, have your location, and again, just be a one-man show as opposed to having a second person with you.
Where do you think the holes are in the gap? Because I hear a lot of horror stories right now about um, the back end service, just like with a lot of other you know different accessories in the industry. The after service support, I've heard, is lacking with a lot of these systems, and people, that's part of the reason why they don't want to spend so much money, is because of other things like training, and then the after service support being non-existent. So where do you guys separate yourselves on that?
I think the big thing with that is, service is a revenue driver for traditional dealerships, right?
Hmm.
To get you on some sort of subscription plan or service plan, you're paying lots of money to, be coddled and developed, right? This all started from lack of support from a big national dealer here. We won't name names just in case.
Well, name names. Go ahead.
Obviously, start with a B and they ran a match, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that this started because of the lack of support that was given on that side, right? And the thought that we could do it, better, faster, cheaper, and give unparalleled level of support and service. And that was always number one. Number one was always, you have to pick up the phone, the late nights, the on the weekends. You need to service your customers. I know your customers attest to that with you and your level of service that you give to your customers. I think it's everything. It's the basis that we build all of our relationships on, and uh, you know the product. There's no difference between the GPS products these days. The technology's caught up to a point where across the board they're all great products.
Hmm.
What kind of service are you going to get from the dealer? And I think the big piece and the big takeaway that we try to figure out is how do we implement it into the workflow? Because it's
Hmm.
great, you can buy this equipment, you can slap it on an excavator, but now what? Who's going to champion it for your company? Are you going to hire a GPS guy? Are you going to you know go through the learning curve of it all? Or are you going to take somebody's opinion and have it implemented into the workflow correctly and properly, both to save time and money?
Yeah. So, what do you what do you guys do in terms of your after service? Like I was talking about too. Um, uh, I think you guys have people locally in the different provinces, or is it done remotely? And how do you guys make sure that you don't have that gap? Like for us, I come from a hospitality background, so like our background is we used to have motels and stuff like that, the typical Indian stereotype when I was young. But it's all about the customer, right? The customer's always right. Make sure they're they feel like they're at home when they're away from home. But I take that to machinery. I don't think a lot of other businesses do that in general, let alone in the machinery industry. I think it's really lacking. But how do you guys differentiate that to gain market share and separate yourselves from what they're lacking?
Well, just based off the scope and scale that we're trying to take this to, I mean, we don't have the luxury of setting up legitimate dealers, across North America. So everything that we've done has been based out of
There's
uh,
a cost to that too, right? If you want to be in every dealership, the dealership's not going to do it for free.
huge
They're going to
cost.
want something for it, and
And are
they're
they going
not
to
cheap.
care? Are they going to care as much as we do, right? Or
Yeah.
is it just kind of the product line that
I was just talking to somebody right now, actually, like I don't know, an hour ago, and he was talking about how do people perceive your products. And I'm like, honestly, my products are great. They're just like if you go in the dealer, they're the same as OEM's quality, but they're 75% cheaper. And I go, that throws people off because they're like, if it's this cheap, there must be something
why?
wrong with it or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, why are you so cheap? It's like, because
Well,
we,
I tell them I don't have that overhead, right? So I don't
yeah,
have dealerships. I don't work with any of the OEM dealerships, anyways. Um, but that is because of that added cost. So if I keep our operation lean in terms of the back end and all the costs that are associated with it, I can pass that savings on to the consumer. Don't get me wrong; I'm sure other people are lean too, but they just don't pass it on to the consumer because they're greedy. So they're like, okay, I'll undercut them by 10%. I'll do it by 75 because I know that they have way too much overhead to be able to do anything about that. Like they can't just go and undercut me by 10% and say, okay, now there he goes, right? They can't go to that number because it doesn't make any sense.
I tell people all the time, we're not $1 billion optic company. I
Hmm.
mean, the thing that Top Gun, Trimble, and like all have in common is they all have shareholder dividends they have to pay for, expensive corporate salaries, multiple locations globally. We don't have that problem, right? So the cost of the equipment is the cost of the equipment. At the end of the day, we have a good enough markup on it where we can have a sustainable business. But again, passing the savings on to the customer and not breaking the bank along the way. Um,
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in a healthy profit, not a criminal profit, right?
exactly
If
right.
you look at the numbers, because you know the numbers too, right? You look at you've been to all the different manufacturers, because again, most of them aren't manufacturing the actual hardware themselves, right? The hardware is always manufactured overseas. 9 times out of 10, it's just the software that's theirs, that's running off of it. So the rough costs. I know the rough costs too because I've looked at that manufacturing too. And then you look at what it translates out to the market, and they're going to say that's all the development of the software. That's why the cost is so high. But
And I do
come
tell
on.
people that as well. In the tech space, I mean, you're paying for 5 years down the road. You're paying for all that R&D, all the, with Trimble, with the augmented reality stuff and the glasses and all the cool sci-fi stuff. But at the end of the day, guys moving dirt. I mean, we're talking about sensors and a program that gets GPS positioning. It's not, you know, we're not building rockets. Something, some
But I
people
think
might.
you said it correctly. Like all the control systems I've seen, they do the exact same thing. I don't
And
see that there's like one that super differentiate. And again, when you're talking about like augmented reality and all that, like who the hell's going to use it? We have augmented reality now on people's laptops, and I don't see a lot of people using it. Maybe kids to play video games or stuff of that nature. But do
absolutely.
you really see that being prevalent so quickly? I doubt it.
No, I don't think so. And
And is
with
it worth the price?
is it worth the price? And with this, I mean, the space has been around for 25, 30 years now. This technology isn't really new.
No.
It's becoming more and more of a necessity
Hmm.
just because of all the things I mentioned before with the cost of labor and equipment and product. The hardware more or less is pretty much the same. I mean, when we talk about GPS, I mean, that's one satellite constellation we work with.
Hmm.
There's satellites that have been up there for, you know, 40 years, 50 years working on positioning. Um,
Let's
so,
talk about that because I know people they kind of think that's one of the biggest differentiators I know between all the systems is the amount of satellites and the amount of um, I guess data that it can
yeah.
go to
And
connect to have the most accurate readings, right? So, what does a good system have? Generally speaking, what do you guys have, and what's comparable, and then what
so,
do you see as the lowest end of the market?
so our system, we can get anywhere between 30 and 35 satellites on average, which is really good if you look at traditional GPS or
That's quite a bit, yeah.
technology. And where the other guys kind of get you is they'll charge you for more constellations.
Hmm.
You'll get 16 to 18 satellites, and then you pay an unlock, and all of
Mm.
a sudden you're getting all the other ones when you know these satellites are just there, right? It's not like Trimble's getting a fee to tap into these satellites or Topcon's getting a fee to tap into these satellites. So, we can pick up 30, 35, 40 with some of our machine control and, zero cost to the customer. It's all included. And I tell guys this all the time with the hardware. You think of a big screen TV 5 years ago or 10
Hmm.
years ago, costing like $2,000, $3,000. That same TV now is a floor model for $999. Whatever show price. It's the same with this stuff. I mean, there's only so many GNSS board manufacturers. There's only so many, hardware manufacturers that it really comes back to the software. And where I think the one piece that we've done well was pivoting into the Android world. I think traditional GPS is still lagging in that they're still playing in Windows uh, for whatever reason, and not staying on current times with where app developments can go and where technology is actually headed.
Yeah, and how do you guys feel now about the OEMs? Because I think I posted it to a Komatsu having that integration. Do you think it goes to a point now? I think also the Korean brands that are now putting them in from the factory. Where do you think that's going to go, and what do you think it's going to do to the secondary market if all OEMs go and start putting them in standard in all their machines?
Yeah, I think this stuff was always coming. You look at I looked at the agriculture market. Agriculture was kind of they're way farther ahead than construction, which you wouldn't think farmers would be more tech savvy than construction guys. But they were the early adopters of this stuff, and you saw the OEM switch. Everything now comes pretty much from the factory with some form of auto steer on it,
Hmm.
uh, and it's only a matter of time before construction moves that way as well. And again, all the systems are great, right? Komatsu is a great system. When Topcon's integrated into a system, it's great, or Trimble and so on. But again, it's going to come back to the support. It's going to come back to the service side of it. Um, is it going to be implemented properly? Is somebody going to actually care about your business, or just push you onto a subscription plan or a service plan, or you know what we say, and it's kind of our catchphrase, is your digital construction partner. Because again, this started from the lack of support that we got, and our core mandate was building systems that we wanted to use as construction guys first. My partner and I were not GPS tech guys. We're not surveyors. I used to own a GCCM company. My partner's family owns a large civil construction company, and we saw a hole and just had a different outlook of what to do. Uh, so when we were going down the road for the development and making it geared towards the construction guys, not making it so surveyor-esque,
Hmm.
I think we hit a nerve. And it's seeing we're in 5 provinces and 3 states now. We used to be in a fourth state. Unfortunately, lost the system in that Hawaii, the fires that happened in Hawaii.
Oh
Uh,
no.
but, but yeah, we're in 3 states and 5 provinces now. So, and we're only year, heavy to market 2.5, 3 years now.
So, how big has social media been a driver for what you guys are doing?
Social media is getting there. It's. I think we might have hit it a little bit later.
Hmm.
We're a year ahead or a couple months ahead. I think we really would have capitalized on some of this stuff. Things are picking up now. We got introduced through social media and met through social media, so it's the power of
Hmm.
social media connecting people on opposite sides of the country and ultimately the world, right? But we found construction, owner operators between 30 and 55 are pretty visual people.
Hmm.
They like the videos, they like the online marketing side of it, especially if you can answer some of those questions in a short form clip as opposed to a long drawn out TED talk.
Yeah. So you guys are in Toronto. You're based out of Vaughan. So what's your typical customer look like out there?
Really, I mean, in all of our markets, I mean, if you look at across Canada, the US, we could have owner operators, single men show with, he's got a 550 with a Mini X and one of our systems on it, digging backyard pools. And we have multi-million-dollar civil construction companies that have, 10 basin rovers, excavators, dozers, the full fleet. And what I tell guys, it's the same technology, right? And the key with it is just how do we implement it? one of the big things is we can't change the way that a customer operates to suit our systems or any system. You've done your job, you've built it your way. You make money at it enough to the point where you're going to spend it on something else. And the worst thing we could do is like, forget all that. Now you're doing it this way. We need to complement the way they do it and find the ways to work it into the workflow.
Do you think that it's worth it to go with the bigger brands over your comparable product? Well, obviously you don't think it's worth it, but what do you say to somebody who thinks that going with one of those bigger brands has some type of difference in how they're going to actually, like you said, integrate their system?
I think seeing is believing. I mean, once people see it, I mean, our close rate is crazy, like 80-90%. Once people see the quality of the systems and actually see themselves using it, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The hesitations for people typically are, up until now, I'll call it, people get into their camps, right? You would be a Topcon guy, you would be a Trimble guy, you would be a Leica guy. And, because everything was very expensive, you have your assets.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to break away from that, right? And also the surveyors in general, once they're comfortable with a system, I mean, they're not going to take a chance to learn another system, even if it is moving from a Trimble to Leica or Leica to Topcon. And God forbid you introduce a new up and coming company that nobody's ever heard of. So those were always the holdbacks. But I think again, once people see it, seeing is believing. And a big workaround for us was we made everything compatible. So we could take Trimble files, we could take Leica files. We're working on Topcon now, where we can just take Topcon files. We can have our base station work with their rovers or machine, and vice versa. We can have our equipment work with their base stations. So the integration of the systems have come a long way as well.
Okay, so that's a great point. So you're saying that if you had some of that old equipment left over from your days with the Topcon or Trimble, that any of those base stations rovers would be compatible with your system.
Yeah, and historically, I mean, all the other base stations have been very expensive, right? You're talking, $20,000,
yeah, and I was going to say, let's talk about that for a second too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's on top of spending what, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on the machine control. So now you're getting into six figures with the base station rover.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at a dozer system, I mean, for install or base station, you're looking at $100,000. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's that when it's a couple sensors, we sell the equivalent for like 60,000. So, is there that much profit on their side? I mean, they have mass production, they have,
debatable, I guess, huh?
Years and years of carving out a market. But yeah, it's it's an interesting time because the cost of everything is ever going up, and sign of the times. Obviously, we're having a bad time in Canada right now with the economy, and people are actually looking for options, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think now it's a sign of the times.
Yeah, and people are looking at ways to save money. I mean, when I tell people you can't hire a summer student for the cost of our excavator system, to have somebody stand in a hole with a rotary laser and check grade, or have a system where you can do all that and more. It makes sense for a lot of people.
So how does your guys' system work in terms of autos? Because let's talk about autos in general. I think they're useless on an excavator because most people can dig a lot faster than that. And then the cost on them, like on CAT system, I think they're 20, 30 grand or something like that just to even activate it. I've tried it. Like we had an excavator here. Jeb has it in Florida. Shout out Jeb. That had full Topcon and it had CAT assist. So the 2D system and the autos. And it was cool. Like you push the button, it'll load it up. It can load up a truck. You can probably set it to do all that stuff. But then, man, you'd have to think that you can do it a lot faster. And then you're like, what am I paying this guy for to sit there and hold a button? Right? So to me, it makes no sense, especially with the cost.
Yeah, an auto system's only an indicate until the last little bit, right? Until the last 6 to 8 inches. So, I mean, you're doing 90-95% of the work with an indicate system already. And like you said, you could dig it faster than you can with the auto. I mean, maybe some
100%.
precision grading scenarios, it might be beneficial. But I think on the excavator system, it indicates all you need. Have the
For
ability
sure.
to have your line work, know your depth, your slope, record your points, have some infield design options. That's really all you need. On the auto side, I mean, dozers and graders, and even we're working on a skid steer line now, I think are very important. Those fine grade scenarios, parking lots, pavers, and interlock crews. But I wouldn't waste the money on a full auto excavator system. Lose you, you froze there. Still with us, Raj. It's still recording. He's watching the Blue Jays game right now. Ignore it.
Cody, did I lose you there? Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. Sorry about that.
You
Go
gotta
ahead.
check this game. So you gotta keep it. Go Jays, go.
Yeah, go Jays, go.
Yeah, I think with implementing the excavator systems, like I was saying,
Mhm.
uh, you know, you have an excavator system, our excavator systems at 37.5 installed with a base station, unlimited training support. You can't get a summer student for that price, right? To hold a rotary laser to go up and down the stick correctly, not mess up the grades, hold it level, uh, and you can eliminate that person, not eliminate that person, but maybe refine that position, have them doing something else. They can run gravel, they can load trucks, they can do other things as opposed to just standing in a hole. And that's where the real value of the excavator system comes, as opposed to a traditional mindset of like an auto, uh, where you need to have that level of precision and have the operator or the human element completely taken out.
Yeah, I think when people think grade control systems, like, oh, it just replaces the guy in the hole. that's their that's their kind of thought process on it, but it does more
And
than that,
it does way more than that. If you can justify it with just that, I mean, then it's an easy sale, right?
for sure.
But you start factoring in things like, yeah, okay, you have the labor savings of the guy in the hole, right? You have the rework. Everybody in the dirt game knows that if you touch the dirt twice, you've lost money,
Hmm.
right? Nobody ever plans to dig it twice.
No.
So having the accuracy there, having the ability to record your as-built as you go. A lot of people don't think about that, right? Your 10% holdback on the end with your red line drawings. I mean, being able to put your excavator bucket on the ground and shoot a point, opposed to having a surveyor come out and do it for you, right? From a safety aspect, having all your locates
Hmm.
on the screen, right? All your gas, all your water, everything in the cab. You get paper locates and an operator loses it, puts it behind the seat, in the lunch bag, in the pocket, goes to the wash. You have this stuff forever and ever. And, once you, again, takes maybe a day, if that, for an operator to learn the system and, how to use it correctly. And we have guys that, they turn on the excavator, they turn on their grade control, even if they don't need it, because at some point during the day, you're going to need to have a grade check. You're going to need to do something. And it's the difference of idling down, getting out of the cab yourself, checking the grade, or, waiting for somebody to come over and tell you that you're too low or too high. And just having that efficiency there. When guys are in the field and excavators swinging for 10 hours a day versus 7 because you were waiting on somebody to paint some lines on the ground, it's a no-brainer.
So from what I heard, you saying today, and from what I know, and what I tell to everybody else is, don't get married to those big brands. Don't think that that's the end all be all for machine control systems. Open your mind out to other systems. There is a lot out there, including yourselves. And don't think, like I said, that you need to spend all that money. Go and research the systems. Go to talk to people like yourself, and educate yourself so that you can get a system. And again, you don't have to break the bank. Um, in terms of not only just the system itself, but also the base station or rover and then integration. So I definitely agree with that for sure. And what do you tell our customer base or our fan base over here? What do you tell them? What's the reason why they should choose you guys in short form? I know you guys do a couple systems, so excavator and bulldozers. I don't think we talked too much about that, but what separates you from everyone else? Obviously, the price is one thing, but why should they come to you guys?
Yeah, if it was just price, we'd have the whole market cornered, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the disadvantage of not having a name brand behind us. So I tell people we live by, what I previously said about being your digital construction partner. We're going to live and die on the hill of support. We have an uphill battle, breaking into new markets and people trusting us with their a couple $100,000 machine, taking a chance and putting one of our systems on it, you know, versus the big guys. And I think, guys will get into systems because the excavator they bought already has a system on it, or one of the biggest marketing ploys I think is, it's TopCon ready or Trimble ready, which is just a set of CAN wires. We can install a wiring harness in 5 minutes and I'll do it for $100 as opposed to a few thousand.
That's a scam, right? It's a little squelling point that we have a wiring harness, so it's ready to go.
Yeah, CAT predominantly is with Trimble. John Deere is with John Deere's with TopCon.
It's for them to make you think that you're married to that system now, right? It's like, oh, this one's already enabled. Why am I going to go test yours? Because they put a cheap wiring harness in there, and I don't want to take it out. You can actually leave it there, right?
We hear it all the time, like independents. I mean, guys that are selling excavators and somebody wants a TopCon system, and they have to go to the competitor to facilitate that deal. I don't think that's right either, right?
You were telling me that too, that people now they can actually trade in. So like if they got a TopCon system and a machine or something, they could come bring it to you, and you guys are turning them around with your own system without even them being out of pocket.
Yeah, the resale market in especially the U.S. is really hot, and some stuff overseas. And what we do, we just facilitate the sale. We don't make anything off the sale. We'll connect you directly with the buyer. They'll deal with everything directly. And a lot of times, depending on the age of the system and the condition, it's a straight wash.
Wow.
We did on a Basin Rover deal. We did a 7 Rover deal. We took 6 of our customers' aging Basin Rover kits that were all between 3 and 7 years old, and we gave them 7 of ours, and they didn't pay $1 out of pocket.
That's pretty darn good. Yeah.
All the support, all the service that come with it, and like I said, we'll live and die on the hill of service and support. I mean, it's the whole reason why we're here, why we started.
Well, I think that's great information for a lot of people. Again, I think a lot of people want machine control. They just have that, that notion that it's just way too expensive, and that there's only a few players out there when there's definitely more out there. Anything else you guys want to say? You want to put out a shout out to you guys' Instagram and to anybody else?
Yeah, you check us out. So DTS _ Digital Train Solutions, digitaltrainsolutions.com. We run virtual demos. We're not bound by a territory. So if you're out on the West Coast, the East Coast, North, South, we'll come see you. We'll do the in-person demo. I mean, we'll grind it out. It's kind of what we have to do at this point to get the name out there. We don't have the luxury of being name brand yet.
Well, that's again, we're proof of it too. We're trying to be our own brand, right?
I mean, fully equipped. I mean, exactly what you're doing, and selling the systems, selling the equipment with the buckets and the attachments, and hopefully the grade control to go with it.
That's my goal. My goal is to standardize that, and everything I sell is going to have tilt rotator and grade control systems to make it standard and affordable. That's fully equipped coming to scale.
Throw in the tints and a wrap, and I mean, you've got the contractor's dream. So
yeah, well, one day at a time, right?
That's it.
But I appreciate your time. I know we thought that there wasn't a Blue Jays game today, but there is, and I want to go watch it too as much as you. But I do appreciate your time. I do think it's valuable information that we got for everybody here today to talk about the truth about these systems and the kind of preconceived notions people have and what's really what's what. So I appreciate your time, and I'd love to chat about it again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you on the West Coast.
Thank you, sir. Cheers. Look to see you too.